Hello everybody, my name is Liam Wolkin and today we'll be changing this bathroom from this into this. So let's take a look at how we made that happen. As is tradition, we're going to start by removing the toilet. Very simple fixture to get out of here. We can just take that shut off, turn it off, remove all the water from the bowl using a shop vac with no filter, take off those two bolts, pull the toilet, and it's as simple as that. With any mirror removal, we like to tape them up and then pry them off the wall. There's usually some gobbledygook holding it into place. And then just removing the vanity. Typically when it comes to demo in our order of operations, we're trying to prioritize gaining floor space. It's something that's very valuable to the two of us working in these tighter spaces. Now, this bathroom is of course on the larger size, so it's not too bad, but nonetheless, the more floor space, the better. These drop-in tubs are always a huge pain to remove. No matter how poorly the rest of the bathroom may or may not have been built, it seems as if the builders put all of their effort into these things. The shower, don't worry about that. Let's just make a giant tub area and have it really well constructed. The plywood sheathing always has way too many fasteners, and there's the lath and the tile surround. So our best bet that we found is just getting that tub out of place, removing all the plumbing from it, and then we can start kind of smashing out any tile, taking the sawzall to any framing and removing it in chunks. This one was really well built, but that's just the nature of the beast. And then you gotta love the juxtaposition here of the world's most claustrophobic shower. Seriously, that tub took up half the bathroom and then they just have this little enclosed shower as almost like an afterthought in the bathroom. It's crazy how they used to prioritize things, but that's why we're here renovating this bathroom to make it much more functional for our clients. And then the removal of the old floor, very traditional tile over lath installation, and we found the 3-foot pry bar to make short work of it. It's very labor intensive, both removing it and carrying it down a flight of stairs, but it's got to be done. Back to this shower. So as you can see, we're completely demoing it, but this shower is actually going to end up eating into the closet. So there's gonna be a bit of a change of layout for this bathroom. We're going to square off this corner that we're working on now, and then the current shower space is going to be absorbed by their closet, enlarging it, and then we can come up with a more efficient use of the space for the bathroom floor plan. And speaking of floor plan, here was the existing one. So that was what we went into. And here's how we changed it. So we relocated the toilet, relocated the shower, moved the tub over, built a custom built-in shelf unit, and enlarged the walk-in closet space. So the overall bathroom square footage is less. However, it's much more functional and their walk-in closet space has increased. And here are some dimensions for those of you that are interested. This is the program that I use to design everything. It's SketchUp. There is a free trial for those of you interested. And it's just a great tool for having a back and forth with our clients and making sure that we're going to give them something that they like. Now, enough of that design talk. Let's get back to the demo. And here we're removing that mortar pan. Again, 3-foot pry bar, just up and down, heaving on a little, and that thing will fall right apart. And we can take out some of this framing because, as we just talked about, this wall is going to be opened up to increase that walk-in closet space. And by now you're probably realizing that this is a very involved project. For a lot of the bathrooms we do, it's a very simple remove and replace. There aren't a lot of relocations. It's just kind of taking out the old stuff and updating it. But that was not the case with this project, and even to the point of we completely removed every single piece of drywall in here. With all of the mechanical and structural changes happening in this space, it's just a lot easier to have access. Even though we might not necessarily need all of this gone, it's kind of at the point where, okay, well, 80%, maybe more of the drywall needs to be taken off. Let's just get rid of all of it and have a really fresh blank slate and all new walls. Now, if you're going to be renovating your own bathroom or having a contractor come out to renovate your bathroom for you, this is something to consider. Anytime you're doing relocations or structural changes, this is going to significantly increase the cost. Now, I'm not saying not to do these things because some of these old bathrooms have just atrocious layouts, but just something to be mindful of. When you start getting into the relocations, the cost goes up. And if removing the walls wasn't enough, we did also end up taking out about half of the subfloors here. We just took a skill saw, set it to the depth of the subfloor, and cut over all of the various points that we would need access to. For the shower space right here specifically, we do need to do this step so that we can create a recessed shower. That is the curbless shower, the design that is oh so popular these days and that we love. I do have a couple of full videos on this topic if you want to learn more, so I will provide provide links to them if you're interested. Not only does this allow us to achieve our curbless shower, but it also allows for all of the necessary plumbing relocations that had to happen for the new layout here. So, you know, obviously changing the layout of that toilet is a pretty big ordeal. We need the subfloor up in order to do that and to run all the water lines for these things. Closing up the subfloors, always a fun time. I always hate having them open because, you know, you don't want to fall through the subfloor. And I actually have a fun little story about that. So this project we're doing in this video was actually for clients that I had done a couple previous projects for when I was first starting out. Provide links to those videos if you're interested. But during that time, I was using a certain plumbing subcontractor. And during the renovation, while I had the subfloors open, the plumber's apprentice actually managed to put his foot through the drywall ceilings below, where my client was sat in his home office working from home. So that was extremely embarrassing for me, but these things happen, especially when apprentices are involved. Fortunately, the clients were very understanding. We were able to make everything right, and 2 years later, back at their home, working on another project for them. If you're a contractor, accidents happen, mistakes can be made. You just got to make sure you do the right thing and rectify them, and maybe keep any apprentices on leashes. A little bit of framing happening here, so we just framed out a niche there, and we like to make them taller than they need to be. That way when we're tiling, we can cut out the niche after the fact and make sure those grout lines flow continuously. It's a really nice little detail that we love to do. And then this back wall of the shower here, we're just framing something out so we have a place to house all of our plumbing, but also so that we have a nice little cavity for some built-in shelving that we'll be adding later down the line. As far as the plumbing goes, got some backing for our mixing valve, our handheld, and the rain head here. And I do like to center both the mixing valve and rain head with the drain there, which is also usually center of the shower space, and kind of getting some drop ears into place where our fixtures will later be tied in. For the handheld there, you can see I got a 2x4 mounted sideways flush with the other 2x4. That's just backing so that when we screw our grab bar for the handheld in, we have something solid to screw into. And then for the plumbing, using PEX A expansion style piping to do all of this stuff. Fantastic system. Love PEX A so much. We had talked about this earlier, squaring off the bathroom. Of course, all those changes in layout, so we just have to frame up a new wall here. Just firing some 2x4s up, making sure they're plumb and flat with each other. And building a little half wall to separate the shower space from the toilet space. And originally, when we were deciding on what to do for this bathroom design-wise, this wasn't concrete. We were kind of thinking maybe we'd have a fixed glass piece there instead. That way it kind of enlarges the bathroom, having more glass, you see through it, makes the space feel bigger. Ultimately, Sebastian and one of the clients kind of leaning more towards the half wall, and I'm really glad we went that route. I used to subscribe to this idea of trying to make everything as open and large as possible, but now I'm kind of leaning more towards the camp of, hey, let's have things a little warmer, a little more cozy. I just find that aesthetic to appeal more to me now than the sterile, open concept that we see so often. Some more mechanical relocations. So this here is an exterior wall, so we wanted to keep both the water lines and drains out of it, but our venting and electrical obviously could be ran right through it. And with all of the electrical boxes there, we do have vapor boxes behind them. That way we can make sure everything's completely sealed, and just running some new plugs here, a couple above the countertop and one below the makeup area. And with that, we could re-insulate and put up new vapor barrier. And insulating sucks, this stuff, it's always so itchy, but it's got to be done. And this back wall here, while it's an interior wall, it did have the insulation prior to us renovating, so we just put it back for a little bit of soundproofing. If you wanted to bump that up, you would want to use a product like Rockwool Safe and Sound, but this will help a little bit, so nonetheless, just throw it back in, and then getting our new vapor barrier, tuck taping it to the old where necessary, getting a full seal. Building up the rest of the subfloors to achieve that truly curbless shower. Again, I'll have a couple videos linked to learn more about that, but the idea here is that we're just going to raise up the bathroom floor so that the top of our shower pan that has the slope to it is flush with the top of the rest of the bathroom floor. Here we're just framing out a little cubby for the future built-in shelving. I did end up making the built-in shelving at my own place, just out of some maple, painted it, and then we were able to just insert it into this cavity that we have framed out. And then installing all of the drywall, 1/2-inch green board going up. That's got the mold resistant properties. Love this day because it finally feels like real progress is being made. Probably the most commonly asked question I get on these videos is, how did you learn how to do all of this? And the answer is mostly through watching YouTube videos just like the one you are now, and a little bit of trial and error. As you can probably imagine, this means spending a lot of time online, and with that comes some risks. With all the data tracking and privacy concerns out there, a simple solution can make a world of difference. That's where NordVPN comes in. Before we dive in, just a quick note, this episode is sponsored by NordVPN. Head over to nordvpn.com/workinwithwalken to get an exclusive discount on their top-rated VPN service. NordVPN does more than just hide your IP address. It's like having a secure private tunnel for everything you do online, and it's perfect for exploring the internet without boundaries. Want to watch a show that's only available in another country? Or maybe you're after deals and content from across the globe? NordVPN makes it all possible, letting you connect privately and securely from anywhere. It's the easy way to keep your online life private and open up a world of content. So get an exclusive NordVPN deal plus 4 months extra here at nordvpn.com/workinwithwalken. Still not sure? No worries. NordVPN offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Try it risk-free, and if you're not totally satisfied, get a full refund, no questions asked. So protect yourself and your privacy today. Head over to nordvpn.com/workinwithwalken and experience the peace of mind that comes with true online privacy. With all the drywall in, we can then get our Kerdiboard into the shower, and this is our waterproofing system that we'll use. So this is just a 1/2-inch foam board. It's expensive, but well worth it, I think, especially if you are a beginner and you need to do a bathroom renovation. If you're thinking about going the Schluter route, go for the Kerdiboard. Don't do the membrane stuff. That is way too much work. Kerdiboard's very lightweight, easy to install. Just get these little washers, put them every foot or so on every stud, screw it to the wall, and man, it's just an easy system to work with, easy to cut, lightweight. Love this stuff. On top of the fan needing to be replaced, we are going to relocate it as well so that it's not going to be cut in half by the shower glass. We're just going to kind of put it over the toilet roughly, and then put in a brand new Panasonic Whisper, which is our go-to fan for these renovations. And this bathroom will be featuring heated floors, which is one of my favorite features, especially here in Canada. Tiles can get quite cold on the feet. Just getting these Ditra heat mats down. This is just the peel and stick version that we love so much. Most of these projects, we do end up having these new plywood subfloors, so we don't prime them. Just feel like it's not necessary, but obviously if we were working with self-leveler or cement or old existing plywood subfloors, we would use the corresponding primer product that Schluter has before putting this stuff down. But it's pretty easy. You cut it with a knife, peel the backing off, stick it down to the floor, and then you can tamp it all down later. And then here we do have the heating cable going in, just following an appropriate spacing. This usually takes me a couple of tries to get the right layout for the length of the cable, because you can't cut it, so you're stuck with the size that you have. But just trying to make sure that we get all of the areas that will have foot traffic, in this case most of the bathroom. As far as drywall finishing goes, we do use these metal corner beads for any outside corners, and then the order of operations is such that Sebastian will go around and pre-fill any of the larger gaps and cracks with some hot mud, typically sheetrock 45. Once the pre-fill has set up, he can then go around and tape everything, so usually paper tape in all of the corners, Vibifuse on any of the larger ugly things, typically those you'll see in the ceiling, especially where old walls were removed, and then mesh tape sometimes on some smaller patches and such. And for the following coats, he's just using the all-purpose light, which in our area is the red box of mud. That leads us to waterproof in this shower, and for this, obviously we got the Kerdiboard, and then we're going to use the Kerdi membrane to go over any of the joints and washers. Very important step here. We are using Schluter's all set thin set for this step with the dedicated Kerdi trowel to get the ultimate coverage. Just kind of troweling everything out where it needs to go, getting the banding on, which we just cut with a pair of scissors, and then a couple of drywall knives to collapse all those ridges and ensure that the banding has proper adhesion everywhere it needs to. I am, of course, starting out with the walls. That way, once they're all done, I can do the pan, get the pan in place, do all of the corners down below where it meets the wall, and then that's it. We're done for the day. We can get out of there the next day, get in there. It's all cured, and we can start tiling. As far as the pan installation goes, this one is just a 48-inch by 72-inch prefabricated Schluter pan. So gonna use a 1/4-inch square notch trowel to get all the thin set into position, get that drain into place, glue it down into the trap below, and then I can put the pan into place and collapse all those ridges. I get a spare piece of Kerdiboard just to set on the pan. That way I don't damage it, as I'm waterproofing all of the corners, which is extremely important, by far the most important part of your shower waterproofing. You got to make sure that your pan and all the areas where it meets the wall is done correctly. Also going to waterproof where that pan meets the Ditra, just to make sure everything's solid. And we even want to waterproof a few feet outside of the shower as well, just to err on the side of extra caution. Again, there's no curb containing all this water, so we just want to make sure we're going above and beyond here. But with that, we can start tiling the floors, which I absolutely hate. Funny enough, as far as these bathroom renos go, one of my favorite thing is tiling the walls, and my least favorite thing is tiling the floors. So I don't like it. It's messy. You're kind of covering yourself in thin set, or at least I am. Maybe I'm just an animal. I don't know. But you're on your hands and knees the whole time. It's uncomfortable, and you're kind of working your way into this weird corner eventually that never seems to end. So yeah, I don't like installing floors, but it is what it is. It's just one day at the end of things, so it's not too bad. With these tiles here, though, it's a very nice 12 by 24 porcelain tile. We got that 50% offset pattern. We're using that 1/2-inch square notch trowel, making sure we kind of key it into the Ditra down below first before troweling it out. Back butter each piece. We're using 1/16 grout spacers with that wedge style system that's going to really help reduce any lippage. And I do have a toothbrush with me as I'm doing this, so that way, if any extra thin set kind of squeezes into those grout lines, it's a whole lot easier to clean it out now while it's wet versus, you know, the next day or a few days later trying to scrape it out once it's hardened. So it takes a little extra time to do it that way, but it is well worth it. And then we get this oh so satisfying moment of removing all of the wedges. I like to kick them out. Sebastian hits them with a mallet, whatever works. We just get those all out of place though, and we can kind of go around, scrape out any excess thin set that we didn't manage to get during the install. Kind of vacuum it up, give it a little bit of a wash, and then we can put down some floor covering here. I think this is just X paper, which we get from Sherwin-Williams. It's not the thickest gauge paper, it's somewhere in the mid-level. Just use some blue painter's tape to get it down everywhere. It's going to protect our flooring during the rest of the renovation. Sebastian's sanding all the mud here. He's got his Festool HEPA-Vac with the drywall sander, which is really nice because, you know, drywall dust just sucks to breathe in and it gets everywhere. Not a pleasant experience, so that Festool is amazing. So kind of giving it a light sand there and then doing his next coat. Now, just like with me, where I've learned so much of what I know through YouTube and trial and error, Sebastian, very similar here. He had no formal background in drywall or painting or any of this stuff. Instead, he's just gone through the YouTube algorithm like many of you are doing now. I'm pretty sure this guy has seen every Vancouver carpenter video that exists twice, and I could not be more grateful for that. For the shower floor here, using a mosaic tile. A lot of the times on these projects, we use a large format tile with an envelope cut to give it the proper slope. Clients here wanted a mosaic, so no problem at all. We're just gonna make a template here, hot glue gun, and some rip down 2x4s to get the border shape and drain location. And I can lay out these sheets on a flat floor, mark everything, label the sheets so I know what goes where, and then I can make all of the appropriate cuts on my wet saw. For any of the cuts that will be facing a tiled wall, I'm going to cut on the inside of that pencil line to leave a little wiggle room and just a little bit of a gap as well. Whereas where the tile around the drain grate and the floor tile, I'm going to have the cut right on that pencil line so that they line up perfectly with one another. Now, these mosaics are never perfect. The sheets will have imperfections in them themselves, where not all the grout lines will be consistent with one another. So I do just like to use these little red wedges to kind of, you know, make micro adjustments to specific tiles that are out of place or where sheets aren't perfectly lining up with each other. It's a little bit tedious, but a very important step, because I would hate to look at this after the fact and be able to tell where each of the individual sheets are, or see tiles that are too close or too far apart from each other. For the top and side of the half wall, I am using this Marmeline. It's an engineered stone piece, comes in a 6-inch width, which is perfect for this half wall. And I am just mitering that outside corner there so that the two pieces will wrap over each other. It's going to look beautiful once it's finished. This is another great milestone I like to see in these projects, and that is priming. This is Sherwin-Williams Cover Max, our go-to primer, but I just despise the look of the green board next to the orange Schluter. Doesn't sit right with me. So priming everything, get it to be all white, it just immediately makes such a big difference. Tiling these shower walls here with the same 12 by 24 tile that was used on the floor, except this time in a glossy finish. A lot of the times we'll try to avoid glossy on the floors because it's just a little more slippy than the honed counterpart, but some clients are okay with that, so you will still see projects in which we do use glossy on the floors. But anyways, with the shower walls here, we're going with the stacked pattern instead of the offset pattern that we had on the floor. This way, it's gonna really work out well with the dimensions of our shower. We have almost 2 full tiles for this wall here, and then 3 full tiles for the other wall. And that's something we do consider when we're building these things and trying to take the measurements for our structures. We want to think about the eventual tile we'll be using so that we don't have any awkward sliver cuts and can achieve symmetry when possible. With that first wall done, I can now shine my laser through the grout line, and that way I can cut out the niche so that the top and bottom grout line in this case, because it is a 12 by 24 tile, will correspond with the tiles. That way, our final look, what we're going for here, is so that it feels as if someone just took that tile and just pushed it into the wall, creating the perfect sized niche. Now, I did actually make a mistake here in which that we were doing mitered edges for all of the tiles in the niche, meaning it kind of has that wrap look. I did just forget to account for the extra height needed in the niche to achieve that look. That might not make a lot of sense, but basically what ended up happening because of that is as we were tiling up this wall, I realized my mistake. We had to actually alter that niche to be taller than what I had roughed in. So it did just cause a little bit of a delay, some extra work there, but we made it work. It all was a happy ending. It just required a little extra effort on our end. Many clamps will have this feature that you can actually reverse them, which makes for the perfect system for supporting that tile floating above the niche. That way we can tile the whole wall in the same day without having to, screw in a ledger board or something. Just the clamps make it really easy. But once they had enough cure time there, I am going to tile this niche. So as you can see, it did just create a beveled edge on all these tiles. And I do have a full video that I'll link on how to do this yourself if you are interested. But we do just want to get everything kissed up as close as possible, and later on we'll use an epoxy to fill all those corners, round them off a little bit so they're not sharp, and also provide a lot of solidness to them so that they don't crack in the future. Of course, the bottom tile of our niche here has a slight pitch outwards, that way water doesn't pool in it anywhere. And while not really shown in this video, I did put in a little aluminum channel at the top there for an LED light that will be going in just for an accent light. I keep promising to make a video showing how we do this, and I haven't gotten around to it yet. I will eventually, I swear, but unfortunately that is not this video. If you're still watching at this point, if I could maybe just ask you to take a second to check to see if you're subscribed or not, as most of my viewers are not. It only takes one click and it greatly helps out the channel and ensures that I can continue making this type of content. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. As mentioned, putting the epoxy into the outside miters on our tile. So not only for the niche, but I also did this for the pony wall too, where those 2 stone threshold pieces met. And I do just try to color match the epoxy to the best of my abilities to the tile. And this is a multi-step process. Again, I have a full video if you want to learn more on this, but once it sets up for a certain amount of time, I go with a knife to shape it a little more. And then after some more cure time, I can go with some sandpaper and really smooth it out and round it over. And it just looks as if those tiles flow into each other. As mentioned, here is the built-in I had made. So this is just 3/4 inch maple plywood. I just kind of spaced everything out appropriately. The shelves, I just stacked 2 pieces of maple together to give it a little extra width, which looks really nice. And then I screwed it all together, primed it, caulked it, painted it, and we can get it into place here. I used a couple shims here to make sure it's nice and tight with the rough-in framing, and it worked out really well. As with all of our bathroom renovations, we're using Sherwin-Williams premium ceiling paint for the ceiling here. And look, if you're doing a bathroom and you're painting the ceilings, you gotta spend extra on a high quality paint. It's just a really important step. With that, we can start grouting. I hate grouting, it sucks, but man, does it ever make a big difference. Grout we're using here is Laticrete Permacolor in Silver Shadow, and that's used on all of the wall tile here. It was our go-to grout. However, moving forward, we're actually going to be switching to an epoxy grout. And I will eventually be making a fully detailed video comparing different grouts and why we've made the change, so keep an eye out for that if that's something of interest to you. For all of the floors, we are using Laticrete Silver Shadow Grout again, but this time Spectralock 1. It's just a different kind of grout, much higher quality. It's a pre-mixed grout that has similar properties to an epoxy grout without being epoxy. And I wanted to use this here because they were doing a mosaic. I know how that grout's gonna look after just a few months. So I told them, look, I'm gonna be using a higher quality grout. We're gonna try it out, but I hated this stuff. Really. I have used this product in the past and had similar problems where the haze was just brutal to get rid of, required so much work to prevent any of that haze building up. And since this, we have used Spectralock Pro, which is an actual epoxy grout, and man, was it ever easier to work with. The haze was a lot easier to get rid of, and I have to believe that it being an actual epoxy grout, it is superior to the Spectralock 1. With all of the change of planes or inside corners, using Latisil, which is just a color match silicone to the grout. Very important step here. If you use regular grout, it will crack over time, whereas the silicone can expand and contract. Between any layer of paint, so whether it's primer to first coat to second coat, Sebastian is just going to give it all a very light sand. A lot of people will skip this step, but it makes a very big difference to the overall finish of your paint and your walls. And then once it's time to start painting, this is Alabaster by Sherwin-Williams. Same color I did in my house. I love it so much. He's just cutting in along all the corners with a brush, then going back and back rolling. And then after that, he can go and use a 9-inch roller for all of the walls. Finally, fixtures can start going in, and this is by far the best part of every project. It's when things really start looking sweet. You get all these expensive toys you start installing, and it's just a fun time. Finishing days for us are just our favorite days for projects. It doesn't even feel like work, to be honest. We're just here having a good time, and I love it. For all of the fixtures here and profiles, this is a polished nickel, so not chrome. And while the difference is subtle, man, I really like it. I really prefer the polished nickel over chrome. It's just got a little warmth to it that I really love and really fits in well to the overall bathroom aesthetic here. And on that note, I do just have to give a big shout out to the homeowners on this one for picking out all of this stuff and doing such a fantastic job. Doing my own home and trying to make these decisions myself really put into perspective how tricky it can be trying to pick all these finishing materials and just hoping it's all going to work well together when you're seeing it at the store versus when it's all at home in your actual space working together. Man, it's tricky, and they just did a really phenomenal job in this bathroom. It's got a warm, cozy feeling that I just love so much. The custom vanity here coming in several separate pieces, so I did just have to assemble that all, and this was fun because it has this little makeup stand that I actually really like. You know, you lose some storage space, but that's okay, right? We got built-in shelves, who cares about that? But this was fun. I like it. Change of pace. I love the natural wood tones that it pulls in. Just had to level everything, make sure it was all flush, but cool stuff. For any of our miters with trim, we are using the 2-part Instabond CA glue. So, you know, you just put the glue on one side, spray the other side, and then you kiss the materials together, hold them in place for like 5 seconds. And that way, it's just one, really easy to install, right? It's just one piece. Look, you just put it in there, boom, bad nail into place. But also it's gonna add some longevity to it, help prevent those from opening up over time and cracking, which is never a good look. The trim in this bathroom is MDF, which I'm sure you've heard, never put MDF in a bathroom, and for good reason. Unsealed MDF, when coming into contact with water, will balloon, warp really bad, and just disintegrate. However, we avoid these issues by fully sealing our MDF, and where it isn't, so where the baseboard meets the floor, for example, we do just run a very thin bead of silicone to seal that all up. I will be coming out with a video exploring this topic more in depth. This stuff really fascinates me, so I want to make sure that these practices are okay that we're using here. So again, keep an eye out for that if that is also something that interests you. We got some custom box molding going in, which was so much fun to do and is such a lovely detail for this space. I did some of this at my own place, and after doing that, I just knew I wanted to do more of it. So when my clients asked about this, I said, absolutely, we can do that. And they asked how much, and I said $200 Canadian for all of this, which is absurd. I mean, this was pretty much a day's worth of work. And you know, $200 Canadian, that's like $5 US. So you might be wondering, why did you do that? And it's because I enjoy doing this kind of stuff, and I really want to encourage clients to do more things like this. I think custom bathrooms like this, where you're already sinking a good amount of money into, let's just take it that next step. Let's do something fun. Let's put a little pizzazz into it, you know? And I could not be more happy with how all of this turned out. As far as the installation went, you can see just created all of these boxes beforehand, glued them all up, and for the spacing, just cut a spare piece of trim at 4 inches exact, and then spaced the boxes 4 inches from each other, and typically about 4 inches from the baseboard below, from the ceiling, and from any walls they were next to. All of the boxes were just secured into place with some brad nails, which were later, holes were filled with some wood filler, sanded down, and they were all just caulked to the walls and then painted over. I installed a couple of these sconces, which just work again so well with the overall aesthetic of the bathroom. A nice gold accent, whole lot of warmth to it. Love it. This tub filler was a brand new type to me, so it's got 2 separate legs, and it felt really solid, looks really good. I really liked it. Other than the initial instructions that we had received with it, actually omitted a very important step that prevented it from wobbling. So the first time installing this, there was a whole lot of wobble, and we were really confused, like what's going on here? We did get the correct instructions eventually sent over to us, and we were able to rectify that, but just a weird little thing that happened there. But otherwise, fantastic tub filler. As for the actual tub installation, you know, we got our tailpiece on the tub, drop it into place, and that's it. I do have a full video on tub installations, which I will provide a link for if you want to learn more. As far as the toilet goes, this one here is a Kohler skirted toilet, and I always have mixed feelings on these things. On the one hand, I love Kohler. I think they make some of the best toilets, but these weird proprietary boot type installations they have, sometimes I love them. They just work beautifully, makes it really easy, and other times a little bit of back and forth I have where it just doesn't feel as tight as I want it to. But overall, I would still recommend these toilets for sure. Our glass subcontractor, Bola Glass, I'll have a link for them down below, were able to come out and install these 3 custom mirrors as well as the shower enclosure. Did a great job as always. And once these mirrors were in, we were able to install more of that box molding around them to really tie in that look throughout the bathroom. Same process, we're gonna caulk it to the wall, fill the holes, and then paint it the same color as the wall. And this turned out great. And there we have it. Quite a change from what we had originally. Big layout changes, whole new vibe. It was really fun working on this one. And if you're still here watching, if I could maybe just ask you to hit that like button on your way out, it really helps the channel out a whole lot, and it's completely free. If you are located within the Mississauga or surrounding areas and you are in need of a bathroom renovation, my website is linked below. Go there, submit a form, and hopefully we can work together one day. As far as the total cost and timeline of this project, here is all of that information. So if it is of an interest to you, feel free to just pause the video and you can check all of that out. And that's it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch it. And other than that, I hope you have a beautiful day.